Hey guys, welcome back to another video on F1 Hub, and in today's video we're going to rank every single 2024 F1 race so far. Now before we get started, please let me know your opinion in the comment section. That's something I'm really interested to know, people's opinions of obviously all the 14 races. And be sure to like and subscribe and make sure you don't miss any of my latest videos, because tomorrow I'll be ranking all of the drivers so far in 2024. I mean, fingers crossed anyway. 14th place though is the Monaco Grand Prix. What a terrible race this was. I mean, it started off well with Carlos Sainz and Oscar Piastri coming together in the opening meters of the race. I mean, I'm not saying that. I do like Ferrari. I'm just saying it was dramatic. The two Alpines came together and Sergio Perez collided with the two Haas cars, which went well. And that's about it. And it was just a pretty mediocre race. There was barely any overtakes. Lance Stroll got a puncture trying to make an overtake. Of course, the highlight was Charles Leclerc winning his first race since 2022 and finally ending the so-called Monaco curse. But from there, it was just a ball fest. The same could be said for the Bahrain Grand Prix, and it's sort of, you kind of expected that the Monaco Grand Prix would be boring and at least add some chaos. So it was actually close between these two, but at least this one had overtaken in it. It was so boring. So Lance Stroll got spun out at the first corner, but he still kept on going to 10. Lance Stroll also had an issue, but couldn't even bring out a safety car for us, which was such a bad thing. Meanwhile, the Ferraris had a fight. Leclerc, any hope of him challenging Verstappen for the win were quickly lost when he kept having lockups all the time. And Max Verstappen won by 24 seconds in a domination where it wasn't even close. And it was just easily one of the worst races of all time, and certainly the worst ever Bahrain Grand Prix I've ever seen. Then we have the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, equally boring. However, it was made interesting and made it go ahead of Bahrain, because otherwise it would have been behind with that late race scrap between Norris and Verstappen as he closed into 7/10 but couldn't make the move. Lewis Hamilton went off into the gravel during this race, as did Sergio Perez. What else happened? Not really much. No one could overtake. Charles Leclerc cut the chicane in that fight with Lando Norris for P2, but other than that, this was another boring race at the beginning of the season. And of course, Max Verstappen held on to win as well, so it's not as if we could say, oh my word, Lando Norris won a race, the mean McLaren are back. So other than that, it was a pretty boring Grand Prix and easily one of the worst at Imola. So moving on now, we go on to the Japanese Grand Prix, which was, I think this is going to be slightly controversial. A lot of people really like this race, and I just don't even know why, because nothing happened. So Verstappen and Perez looked out the front row, but there was chaos immediately after Albon and Ricciardo crashed. And that was it. After that, there was some fun overtaking. There was a battle between Hamilton and Russell and Piastri having the scrap, but apart from that, there wasn't a fight for the top two at all. Carlos Sainz beat Leclerc for third, and that's about it. So then we go to the Chinese Grand Prix, which was a slight improvement of the Japanese Grand Prix, because we had some really great battling in it. We had a fight for P2, which involved Alonso and Perez and then Norris and Perez. Bottas was out with a failure. We had a huge safety car restart shunt where Stroll took out Ricciardo and Magnussen took out Tsunoda, and they had an amazing fight for last. Alonso had to make a recovery drive. Hamilton had to fight his way through from 18th, and Norris held off Perez for second. So a very fun race and extremely enjoyable, but except the main problem is there was no fight for the win. There was basically no battling except Verstappen had to get past Norris after the safety car, which the exact same thing happened in this race, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, where once again Verstappen and Leclerc looked out the front row until Perez got past, and then Lance Stroll crashed into the barriers. So before I go any further, you can check out my full race-by-race analysis in my season review, so if you want more information on these races, I would go and check that out. But the safety car got blown out, and Norris and Hamilton stayed out, and thus, Verstappen had to overtake Norris, but he was always going to win. Magnussen, at least made this race fun. Now, this is actually a controversial opinion. Not many people like the Saudi Grand Prix. I did. I think it was fun. We saw Behrman up there. There wasn't really a fight for the win, but it was fun. It was enjoyable. It was intense at times. So then we go off into this race, the Australian Grand Prix, easily the most overrated race of all time, just because Verstappen retired from the Grand Prix didn't make it a good race. The early laps were absolutely incredible, though, as Sainz took the lead and we began to wonder how many laps it would last. And then obviously we finally realised, oh my word, Max Verstappen is out of a race, which was actually a surprise, obviously, because he's never out of a race. So I suppose I did once him out of a race so we could have a fight. Of course, doesn't matter these days. And George Russell crashed later on, but the middle of this film was absolutely the middle of the race was absolutely boring, but at least we had Carlos Sainz winning. Then we have the Spanish Grand Prix, and we're now going to the races which are getting better. Lando Norris took pole position, but it was George Russell who led the race from Verstappen in the opening turns, but it didn't last that long, and Verstappen went on to win. In terms of race, we had some great racing as usual around the circuit. It's a track where it delivers like overtakes, but nothing anything epic. The two Mercedes had a very close brush for third. We had that amazing Russell-Norris battle. We had the Ferraris coming together. We had Perez versus the Alpines. We had Piastri making overtakes too. And of course, Norris charged in on Verstappen, but couldn't home it in quick enough to win the race. Then we have the Belgian Grand Prix, and the most recent Grand Prix on this list is the Belgian Grand Prix. And I thought this was fun, but it wasn't really that special. I don't even know why I'm putting ahead of the Spanish Grand Prix, but it's just recency bias. Norris went off at the first corner. Then, of course, I am a Lewis Hamilton fan, so I wouldn't call myself a fanboy, though. Hamilton took the lead of the race. There was an interesting fight for the win with Russell, and that it was very dramatic those last 10 laps. But I kind of thought Russell would hang on to it, and he did. So it probably will fall behind the Spanish Grand Prix, but the shock was Russell getting disqualified and then Hamilton winning, so that was a surprise. Then we go into the top 5, which is the Miami Grand Prix, and this is an interesting race where everyone said, oh my lord, this is the best race of the season, which it isn't, but it's very good at least. Perez nearly crashed into Verstappen, and it was just, this is a definition of a fun race. Magnussen smashed into Sargent. What else? We had Hamilton charging in on Perez, and obviously Lando Norris winning the race, which was so good to see. Lando Norris is my second favourite F1 driver, so obviously, I'm so happy for him. Tsunoda beat a Mercedes, which was great stuff, and Alpine got a point. Then we have the Hungarian Grand Prix, and it's not really that great for overtaking in actual battles, apart from one battle, which was obviously Hamilton and Verstappen, who had an amazing scrap for third the entire race. Mercedes stopped being rubbish with their strategy calls and got them under third, and I just really enjoyed it like that. And of course we had the McLaren team order scenario, and I just thought that obviously was tense and dramatic, and that's what kind of puts it up a bit. Obviously we didn't know if Norris would let Piastri through, and then of course Hamilton and Max Verstappen came together as they duelled for the lead of this race. Not the lead, the third place. Anyway, Verstappen finished 5th for floor damage and somehow still held off a Ferrari. Not really much of an achievement though. Then we have the Austrian Grand Prix, another incredibly overrated one. Yeah, I'm still putting it third, which is pretty much, that as high as any other race can get. The opening 50 laps were boring. Alpines, had a battle. There was a fight for third. But then after that, we had an amazing Norris-Verstappen fight. That was absolutely audacious. The reason why it's so good is because we cannot believe that we're having a Norris-Verstappen fight for the lead of this race. And it was just incredible. And then it all boiled over, obviously. And this was just incredible. Where Norris and Max Verstappen collided as they fought for the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. There was a billion YouTube videos made about it, except me, because I didn't want to bore anyone else. And George Russell took the lead of the race, which was just a surprise. So nice to see Mercedes win a race and finally end that win drought since 2022. What a win it was. So now we go to the top 2, and it was super close, but I have to go for the Canadian Grand Prix in second. It probably has the most actual epicness to it, but I just had to put it in second, though I hope that YouTube do an extended highlights version of this race. So Russell was on pole, but bottled it anyway by going off the road, losing 2 places in the process. Verstappen also went off the road, but that didn't stop him from taking the lead after the safety car, and Norris came out behind after the pit stop. Sargent crashed, Perez crashed, and obviously Carlos Sainz and Alexander Albon came together as they had a fight for P9 position, and obviously you can see they crashing into the Williams as he rejoined the racetrack. Alpine got double points. There was an amazing fight for P2 later on as Russell bottled it with another mistake, and then Mercedes went side by side with a Mexico 2023 style maneuver. Hamilton did it on Leclerc, but this time it was Russell and Hamilton, and it was super close for P2 on the last lap, and obviously Tsunoda spun out late on, and it was a super close. I think that cost Haas points, but let's just say what an amazing race the Canadian Grand Prix was. Biased or not biased, first place is the British Grand Prix. What a race this was. We had the top 3 British drivers in first, second and third, and yet it was an amazing fight for the win, where Hamilton, Russell and Norris all duelled. The rain threatened for 18 laps, as all of the commentators kept saying a billion times. Hamilton took the lead past George Russell, but that only lasted for a little while as both Mercedes went off the road. Norris got past both, Piastri got past both, but then McLaren obviously messed up the pit stops as usual. Hamilton then undercut Norris and took the lead of the race, whilst Verstappen got past Norris late on for P2. also retired, and it was just an amazing spectacle with epic action. Hulkenberg somehow finishing in P6, a disaster for both Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez, who I keep forgetting Leclerc was out in Q2, but he was. An incredible, tantalizing race. So thank you so much for watching today's video. If you want a more in-depth analysis of each race, you can check out my mid-season review where I don't really cover all the drivers, it's just the races. And that's it for today's video, and I'll see you next time.